Hello, my name is Rainer, and in this video I'll show you guys how I make videos for academic use. So let's say you're trying to do a presentation for sponsors, or you're giving some sort of hardware demo for, let's say, a conference and whatnot, and you want it to be in video form. This is how I do my setup. So I mainly use two softwares. I use OBS Studio and DaVinci Resolve. So OBS Studio is for recording your screen or recording your face, all that. And then I use DaVinci Resolve as the editing software. Both of these softwares are free. And for this video, you'll see my face on the bottom right of this video, and you'll see two camera angles just because when I'm doing the OBS Studio setup, I can't really show you that window, so I'm using another software just to show you how to set up OBS Studio. But the rest of the video should be done using those two softwares. So let's get started. So the first thing we're gonna do is download OBS Studio. So I pull up the website here, and it'll be on the description for OBS Studio. So you just download it for whatever operating system you're using. So in this case, I'm using Windows. I'm actually using a fresh install of Windows for this. So if you click Windows, it should install it. It should download it. I've already downloaded OBS Studio, so I'm gonna go ahead and launch the installer. Hit next, and then set the destination folder. I'm not gonna mess with that here. Go ahead and install. So it's done installing. So I'm not gonna launch OBS Studio yet. I will launch it from the start menu. So I'm gonna go ahead and uncheck this and then hit finish. So the next thing we're gonna install is DaVinci Resolve. So like for OBS, this link will be in the description. So I'm gonna go ahead and scroll down here and click on this free DaVinci Resolve download, and it'll ask you which one you're gonna download, if it's the Resolve or Resolve Studio. You just want to download the Resolve without the Studio because this one is a paid service. Besides, this is already way too powerful for what needs to be done. So, and this one has the same options for operating systems. In this case, I'm gonna use Windows. And then it'll ask you to put some information. Honestly, I just put whatever information here. I don't put real information here. And then register and download, and then it'll launch you to this link right here. I'll try as much as possible to get this link also in the description, so you don't have to do the registration process for folks that are doing this in Windows. But once you have that ready to go, I'm gonna go ahead and unzip that folder. So let's unzip DaVinci Resolve. Okay, so now it's right here. I'm gonna go ahead and minimize the browser behind us. Then I'm gonna go ahead and install DaVinci Resolve. Let's give this a moment. So it's extracting the installation files. And then for here, you just leave everything alone. You don't have to do anything different here, and then click install. It'll install a bunch of dependencies. So now it'll pull up the DaVinci Resolve setup. Hit next, accept terms and conditions, and then that's your destination folder. I'm not gonna mess with that one. Then install. Now DaVinci Resolve setup is complete. Let's hit finish. And then the DaVinci Resolve installer is complete. So for this next part, I'm actually gonna do everything on my local machine, the one where I already have OBS installed. I just removed all my settings for OBS. So now that that initial setup is complete, let's go through a little bit more of the settings. So let's go here to the controls panel and settings. And then let's go to output. Make sure you set a separate folder for your OBS recording. So inside my videos folder, which I think is the default, I just added a folder called OBS inside. And then your recording quality, if you want the smallest file size possible, you would go with the high quality. Either this or the second one are good options. This one doesn't really make sense for what you're doing, so I highly recommend not doing this option, just because you don't want large file size for editing. And then for the recording format, you want to use this fragmented and MP4 option instead of the normal MP4 option. That way, if your recording cuts off, it should be able to recover most of the recording you've made. And then for the video encoder, I usually use this hardware NVENC, but if that doesn't work, you can use a software encoder. And then everything else I kind of leave alone in this section. So let's see the audio. The only thing I would change here is your microphone. Make sure that the correct microphone is selected for what you're trying to do. So in this case, I have an external microphone, and that's what's being set. So whatever your default is would show up first, or would show up here, and then you can change it to whatever you're trying to use. And then everything else should be fine. You can leave those alone. Feel free to look at them if that interests you. And then there's the video tab. Like I said, you want your canvas resolution to be at least 1920 by 1080 if your computer can handle it. And you want to match that for the output resolution. And then for the FPS value, we said 30 or 60 on that initial setup. And here it'll tell you what the setting that your computer can handle. So in this case, it says 60 FPS, and you can change this to whatever works for you. I recommend keeping it as high as possible, between 30 to 60. And then finally, let's look at the hotkeys. So I'm gonna delete these real fast. So by default, there shouldn't be any hotkeys added here. So you can set whatever hotkeys you like for any of these functionalities. The main ones that I use is to start recording and stop recording. So for start recording, I use F9, and stop recording, I use F10. You can use whatever keys you want to use. That just happens to be what works best for my situation. There's people that use 1 and 2, but doesn't matter, whatever works for you. But those are the main two that you should have in mind, depending on if you're coding, if you're using PowerPoint. You just have to keep in mind what key presses are you using the most for those applications, and hopefully that doesn't interfere with your recording. And then after that, hit apply, and then okay. So the next thing we'll look at is the different types of sources or different types of input that you can put to your screen recording or whatever you're trying to show. Here right now there's nothing. So sources, there's nothing, therefore there's nothing here in this upper portion. Let's pay attention to the sources pane. let's add the display capture. So display capture is your entire window. So I'm just gonna call it entire window. You call it whatever seems to make sense here. Press OK. And it'll ask you what kind of capture method. You can leave it as automatic. And then for the display, just select whichever monitor you like to use here. Right now I just have one, so press OK. And then now it has this weird trippy effect because it's trying to capture this OBS window, so you're seeing this infinite mirrors effect. So now if you minimize, what it would see is this background that I have on here. The next thing I would add here is your camera. So if you want to add your face just like this in the corner, what you would do is hit the plus and the video capture device. Press OK. So I'm going to use a secondary camera source that I have right here, different from what we're seeing on the screen. And then, like I said, I only have this USB camera. And you can set whatever options you like. I usually just leave it alone and press OK. And the way it's set up right now is the camera's on the top, and that's not what we want. Or should I say, the camera's on the entire screen, and that's not what we want. What we want instead is we want this camera to be in the corner. So the way we do it is down here, make sure you select the correct video source, which would be this video capture device. And then you see these anchor points. So I'm selecting this corner and then shrinking it down. And then now it's in the bottom right, just like what we see here in the video. Now, another handy thing with the resizing feature here is you can also narrow the window where the camera is. And I'll show you what I mean by, if you hold the Alt key, and now you see this extra size adjusting feature. So you can do this on the left and also on the right, and then finally you can put that in the corner. And that's how you add the sources for your video capture. So a tip for the audio, so it doesn't get very noisy, is whatever you use for your mic. So if you set that up correctly on the settings, you should see the mic here working down here. Now, if you click the three dots here and then go to filters, and in the beginning you'll see nothing, so I'm gonna go ahead and delete that filter real fast. So there shouldn't be anything on there. Now, as you saw earlier, we're gonna add a filter here, and if I hit plus, and then there's this noise suppression filter, and you can call it whatever you like, so I just keep it the way it is. And then it'll ask you for the method, and I usually just keep this RN noise method for noise filtering or noise suppression, and then click close. That way it doesn't pick up any little humming in the background that you have either from your computer or the AC, for example. So hopefully that should help reduce a lot of the noises that are captured in your microphone. So another tip for the microphone is, if you're talking, you want to make sure that your normal speaking voice is within this yellow region, and it can hit a little bit of the red, but you want to make sure that it's hitting these region. So I'm trying not to talk as loud as possible because it might clip it. You can adjust your settings. So if you're talking very, very loudly, you can decrease the decibels right there using this slider. And if you want to increase the volume of your voice, you can go to this 3 dots, hit filters, and we already had the noise suppression as before. And then on top of that, you can add this gain. You can call it whatever you like, and then you can play around with this gain settings until, like I said, your volume is, I'm gonna go ahead and delete this because it's gonna clip me a little bit here, until your speaking voice is between this yellow and just a little bit of the red. So you want to talk very loudly that it will clip it. And I'll actually show you real fast what that looks like. So let me just reapply that filter, and then let's max it, not max it up, but get it pretty high. Hello. And you see here, just even me doing my normal voice can clip it. You don't want that. This is a situation you do not want. That will sound very horrendous to whoever's listening to you talking. So you want to not have that situation. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove that gain. So those are the tips that I have for the microphone and your voice for voice recording for OBS Studio. So now we're gonna show different ways of recording. So the first way to do this is to look at the controls panel here, and we have the start recording. And the way to tell that it's recording is a couple of ways. One is you see this red dot by the OBS logo, as well as the taskbar icon having that red dot. So if I stop recording, it should save it to the OBS folder that you set on the settings tab. Now, a couple tips on recording. You want to leave some time for your face to be kind of stable in the beginning. So I call that the lead time. So before I hit start record, either using this or F9 or F10, which is the hotkeys that I said, I just kind of keep my face stable. Either just look at the camera or just have a very neutral face stance, and then you try to keep that for about a couple of seconds, at least a second, and then you start talking. So I'll give an example. So I'm gonna hit start record, and now I'm talking. So another thing that's important is after you talk, you want to keep your face kind of stable as kind of like in the beginning. So now I'm going to stop recording, and before I do that, I'm going to keep my face stable. So just to demonstrate, I'm going to keep my face stable here for about a second or two, kind of like the lead time. So I call this the trail time. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording soon. Now, the purpose of the lead and trail times is for editing. If you want to make very, very effective jump cuts, you want those times in the beginning and end so that you can put in your fade ins, your transition between one slide to the other, or when you go from slides, let's say you're doing some kind of presentation, and then you move into code. So anytime you have some sort of transition, it kind of helps the jump cut. It's not like your face is stuck in the middle of doing something when you're going from one cut to the other. At least for the major sections of your video. So that's it for the recording tips for OBS Studio. So now let's open up DaVinci Resolve. So we're gonna set this up for the first time. So it'll tell you what's the new features, just hit continue. And let's go with the quick setup here. It'll just tell you if you met the minimum requirements, and it looks like I did. Let's continue. And for setting up your project, usually I'll go with the HD option. If your computer can handle Ultra HD and you have a webcam and monitor that's Ultra HD, so like 4K and whatnot, feel free to use that option. I'm just going to use HD and 1080 HD. And then the project media location, it'll ask you where you store all your medias. This doesn't really matter because I usually have them. I have all of my projects in different folders. I'll just drag them into DaVinci Resolve, as you'll see later. But if you want a dedicated place to grab all your files, you can set that up here. But I'm not going to bother changing that. And then it'll ask you for keyboard layout. I'm actually going to use the DaVinci Resolve layout for this one. That's because that's the one I'm most familiar with. But if you're familiar with the other NLEs or nonlinear editors keyboard layout, you can use those. But I'm going to stick with DaVinci Resolve. Continue. And then now I'm all set. And then DaVinci Resolve will launch. And then I'm going to hop on to my main machine to continue with this tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and launch DaVinci from my local machine. So you can see here, I'm using an earlier version of DaVinci than what I was installing, but a lot of what I'm doing works on the later features. So I have that on my lab computer, the later version, but I'm up to testing it out. It should work here as well. So when it launches, it gives you this window. There are two ways to make a new project. You can press this new project button, or you can just click on this untitled project. It'll always be here every time you open up the DaVinci Resolve window. And then it'll give you this window with a lot of moving parts. I know it gets kind of overwhelming, but the main part that we'll look at right now is this bottom set of buttons. So these kind of goes through different parts of the editing cycle. Now, for what we're doing, there are only two main buttons that we need to pay attention to, which is this edit button, where we go ahead and do the splicing of the videos, putting all the effects, putting fade in, fade outs. That's this tab. And once we make all the changes we want on our video, then we'll go ahead and go to the deliver tab, and I'll go over that at a later section once we have some workable video that we want to output. So I'm on the edit tab. So right now there's like nothing for me to work at. You could launch or add your files using file import media. My preferred method of doing or I guess loading videos onto DaVinci Resolve is you just go to the folder where you have all of your videos. So I have a folder here called completed. I actually have it inside DaVinci Resolve. So the way I record is I record, and then if I like the footage, I put it inside this completed folder. and I number it. So this is just my way of keeping track of things. You can do however some sort of keeping mechanism that you want to do. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take all the footage that I recorded for this video so far up to this point, and then I'm gonna drag them in to DaVinci Resolve. And the first prompt I'll tell you is, do you want to change the project frame rate? It's just asking you this because it's different from what DaVinci Resolve is used to. Usually I'll change it because OBS operates from a certain frame rate. So you want to do that. So now what I'll do is I'll drag the video clips one by one. So if I, just as a quick note, if I hover over any of the videos, it will show you what's going on. So what I'll do now is I'll drag one of the video clips. So that's just me doing the introduction earlier that you saw. So now I'm gonna show you guys on the next clip here. I'll show you guys the buttons that I use to do the changes. Now on the top right of the screen, you see the key buttons that I make when I make edits to any video. Now the main part that I do is I zoom in and out of footages. So if I hold Alt, that kind of contracts and expands your footage. And then if I have it very zoomed in, and if I want to go left to right, I hit the Control key and it goes left and right. With the mouse wheel, I forgot to mention that. So Alt and mouse wheel is zooming in and out, and it will zoom in and out of this wherever this marker is. So don't expect it to zoom in wherever you want it to go. You actually have to move this marker and then zoom in and out using the Alt. Now if you zoomed in all the way and you just want to move left or right, you can use the left and right arrow to move frame by frame. Or if you want to do like major scroll movements to the left or right, you use the Control key, Control and the mouse wheel. Now, if I want to cut a particular clip, so I'm just picking a random part of this intro clip, and say, oh, I want to cut from here. How do I do that? Timeline, razor, or Control B. So I just pick a place where I want to splice a video, and then press Control B. And then let's say I want to cut this part out. So select that part and make sure you want to select the clip that you want to basically delete, or basically you want to do the splice in between, and then press Control B, and now it's spliced there. So there's a couple ways to delete the clip. To basically remove this clip, you can press delete. So which I think they updated now, where it deletes the clip and then moves everything over. And then the old shortcut is Control Shift X, and that's also the what's called the ripple cut. So this one, ripple cut, because ordinary cut will just delete the clip where it is, and then basically you have to do that. So that's what a ripple cut would do. So Control Shift X, or delete. Those are the two main things for splicing a video. So the other thing that we can do with DaVinci Resolve, and I think this kind of makes a lot of presentation to be easier to look at, and especially when you have a lot of transitions, is to use fade in and fade out. So in this clip in the beginning, so I mentioned there's lead time and trail time. Those time that you have in the beginning are perfect time for you to put in your fade in and fade out. So the way you do that is you go to your video, and then you'll see this. It's very small, but if you hover over, and then you see this white tick, you take this, you hold your left mouse button, and then it'll specify the time. So let's say I want it for 1 second, so it'll tell you the seconds and then the number of frames. That's what that 29, 27, 28, 29, and then 1 second. So if I play this, it will do a 1 second fade in. And you can do the same thing for the audio. If you happen to have some sort of, let's say, background music, you can do that. And then similarly at the end of the video, where you have or at least at the end of the clip, you can do a 1 second fade out. So it'll look like this. Now, I don't normally leave a lot of time where my face is stable. The reason why I have the lead time is I find a spot where my face is like the last time is stable, or the last time where I'm kind of still, and when I start talking. So like right here, I look kind of bored there. I apologize. It's not the intent of my face there, but essentially the point I'm making here is you find a spot just before you start talking. So the last time you're still, and if you want to put a fade, I recommend about 1 to 3 seconds of fade in. Wherever your face is the last time it's still, go about, let's say you want to do a 1 second fade. You go 1 second before this time, and let's pay attention to this time thing on the left. So I am at 1 second and 11 frames. So I want to go 11 frames in, and this is where I do my cut. So Control B, and then delete, and then now I can put a 1 second fade. Hello. And now, as you saw there, I'll go back. It looks it all looks very natural. You don't have this weird awkward pause in the beginning, and similarly in the end, I put such a large trail time. So the way I do it is it's the opposite. So your face is moving, your face is moving, your face is moving. So wherever it's stable for about a set. So the first time it becomes stable or still, you go there, pay attention to the time, 7 seconds and 16 frames. You go, let's say for this, I want a 1 second fade out. So I go 7:16, I go 8:16. And then I use my blade, then delete, and then I put my 1 second fade out. So that's how you do the fade in and fade out. And like I said, that also works for the audio clip down here. So the other thing that you should pay attention to when you're editing is, and I do this a lot too when I record my clips, is in the beginning of each of the individual clips that you do, people do this very deep inhale, or some people exhale when they do this. A lot of microphone pick that up like in the very beginning. So you see here in my clip, there's this blip right here. It's very hard to see, very tiny, but I do that weird breathing thing. A lot of people do that. So the way you would get rid of that is basically we just mute it. And the way you do that is the following. So here we'll pay attention to this the second you start talking. Not the second that your face, or not when you're still for the last time, is when your mouth starts talking. So here's like right here, or right here, because I see there's a little bit of noise about to happen there. But here I do a little bit of that breathing thing. So just before I clip, just pay attention to this. Pay and make sure it's still one second or whatever you set it to. Now for the audio clip, if I hit control, sorry I did that a little bit fast. Basically I want to select this clip down here. And the way you do that is you hold the control button, and then it's kind of hard to aim sometimes. There you go. Control, and then left mouse click, and then it will isolate that part where, or at least isolate this audio clip. And easiest way to mute this is right click, and then there's this enable clip. Click on that, and now it's muted. So now you don't have this weird breathing sound when you're first talking in that clip. Now it starts off with you talking and not that weird breathing thing. So now I'll show you guys how to add, let's say you want to add something on the corner, like let's say a picture or a video clip. So let's say I'll add this video clip, and this is just from the videos from this video. I'm dragging this 8, and then I'm dragging it above where we are. So you notice it goes from me talking to this, but that doesn't show you what I call picture in picture. Like if you want this video clip playing on the corner, the way you do that is you choose the video clip above. So make sure you drag it above the video your what we call the A roll, the main video that's playing, and then the video that you insert above is called the B roll. So wherever your B roll now is, select that, and then there's this square looking thing with dots on the corner. Click on that. So I'm gonna actually hover my clip over the beginning of this B-roll clip. So like I said, click on that, and then you'll see these dots on the corner. And now you can drag that and put it wherever you like. So say I want to put it over here. So now I'm actually going to mute this clip. In the meantime, I'll also mute a moment. So this is, anyways. And in this video, I'll show you guys. So it goes from just me talking right here to now that video is playing in the corner. And imagine that this video clip can be pictures or text. And the beauty with DaVinci Resolve or most NLEs is you can actually move this clip all over the video using what they call keys. So let's say in the beginning your video's over here, so make sure you set your original position. So let's say in the beginning of the video I want it to be over here. So now that you have that set, go to this pane right here. Let me go back to OBS real fast and remove my input overlay so you see what I'm doing. So go to this sidebar here and then video, and then make sure you set your transform key like that. It means that from this point, this is the position and this is the shape of the object that you put on there. Video clip, text, images. And then let's say I want to move this video clip from here to here in about a second from now. So let's say at 3:20, oops, it's a little far, my apologies. At 3:20, let's say 3:27. Now I want to move this to here. You know what? And then to lock it in place, you just press this button. Oh, my apologies. So drag that in. Oh, actually, you don't need to do that. You just move. You do the initial one, and then wherever you set it to, wherever you set the clip to move, whichever time period you want it to end up in this location. Let's say 4:06. You go ahead and move the clip to wherever you need to go, and then between those two time periods, you'll see a very, very smooth transition. So let's watch. And in this video, or it'll move it. It just, I had a very, very short amount of time, but imagine if you had 30 seconds between from where that is to where it's going. It'll be very, very, very smooth transition, but I did 1 second, so it's very, very fast. That's very helpful. Let's say you have something that's, you're doing a presentation and you have something blocking on the corner and you want to move, let's say whatever you're presenting to the top right, you can do that. That's what that's for. And then let's say at this time, I want you to go back here. So it goes fast and then it goes down slower. So, and you can do that as well for cropping, and then if you want to do some sort of rotation, you can do that as well. So if you want to shrink down a clip, let's say you're showing some sort of a hardware demo or code demonstration, and you want to show, let's say, a compilation, or you're running your code and you want to show the entire process, but it takes like 10 seconds, 15 seconds, a lot of dead time, but you want to show the whole thing. You can kind of speed up those clips by using the retime controls of DaVinci Resolve. So the way we do that is, let's say I want from 2 seconds to, let's go 8 seconds. Let me find 8 seconds right here. You select the clip that you want to speed up. Right click. And then this retime control. and then you'll see this speed change just above. And all you have to do is drag it so that I reduce a 4-second clip down to 8 seconds. And this is not gonna sound pretty, but let's see it. So that's me like talking really fast. As you can see, you can do that for your code. And then what I would do is, just in case there's noise, let's say you're doing your coding and there's a lot of background noise, extra background noise that's happening, I'll go ahead and mute that clip as well. So that's how I handle, let's say, your code demos, your hardware demos, but there's some dead time, but you want to show the whole thing. Now I'll show you guys how to add, let's say, like a text or title slides or some sort, any kind of text. Go to this effects library and then go to titles, and there's a bunch of effects here. So by default they'll all have a black background. So let's say in the beginning I want to put a title slide or a title text. If I drag it right now, it will kind of override whatever's there, and I don't want that to happen. So I want to move all these clips a little bit to the right. To the right, I think my camera's mirrored. The way I would do that is, in the very beginning, you could do Control A and move everything forward. That's fine and dandy. Another way of doing this, and this would be helpful if you're, let's say, cutting clips in the middle, is wherever you have your marker here, if you press, let me just have my overlay here real fast just to show you guys what I'm doing. If I press the letter Y, it selects everything to the right, every clip to the right of that particular track. So like all the video tracks and everything that's linked to it. So like all the so this video track and this audio track, it'll pick everything to the right, and then you can move that across. So if I move this over here, it'll pick the first one and the second one. And you can move that across. Make sure, so see if I can nail this. So one moment. Okay, so right now I'm not selecting anything. But let's say I put my marker right here. If I press Y, it selects the clip that it's currently in and everything to the right. So if you don't want this clip to be a part of what you're trying to do, make sure you move the marker right there. So I'm going to unselect everything, and then Y, and then it selects the appropriate one. Now, all that said, let's go ahead and go back to what I was trying to do, which is add a title slide. So I'm going to move everything to the right a little bit. I'm just giving myself some sort of a buffer room for this. And let's say I want basic title. Oh, that's still pretty long. Let me move everything a little bit more. Zoom out a little bit, drag that out a little bit more. I think it does about 5 seconds. I'll double check it for you all. 5 seconds. So keep that in mind. Give about a 5-second buffer when you're inserting some sort of text. Obviously, you can change the duration of this. So let's say I want a 3-second clip. So that's your basic title. It's not delete. Control. I want to cut. So that was a mistake that I did there. If I press delete, it moves everything. It does that ripple cut where it deletes a clip and it moves everything to the left by the size of that clip, I don't want that. When I'm making these changes, I don't want that to happen. Instead, what I want to do is I just want to cut Control X, so it keeps everything in place. So you want anything to move right now. So let's say I want to do this. I'm trying to find something that works here. Drop in. Let's use this drop in. So drop in looks like that. Now, what I'm gonna do is remove and then set this to about 3 seconds. And now it's a 3-second drop in. Now, if you like what's going on, so yeah, if you like the length, you can go ahead and move everything back. So I move the clip here, press Y, and then move everything back. And then let's work on that text. So there's a couple things here. So this is where you edit the text on the right, and then let's say hello, and then there's a choice of whatever font you want to use, and then the weight, the text weight, and then the font size. There, and then everything else, you can kind of play with that on your own. But if you don't know what you're doing, I would just leave those alone. So that's what it looks like. So that's how you add text. And like I said, these will work with the background. So let's say I want to put this, or these will work as a foreground text. So like, if I took this clean and simple lower thirds, and then I put it just before the beginning of the video right here on top. So now it looks like this. Hello, my name is. So if you want some sort of text in the middle of your video, you can do that using this. So if for some reason your audio clips are still not as loud, you can play around with it in this mixer. So I moved my face on the left side of bottom left side just for you guys to see this. So this is mixer, and then locate the audio clip, and I would assume it would be a single clip that you would want to edit for this kind of application. So basically audio 1 is where my audio is, and then all I have to do is increase the volume by setting this, or you can decrease it if your voice is that loud. So I'll go ahead and set it back down to 0, and that's how you set extra gains or reducing the volume for your clips. So now that you've completed everything, so right now I just have a very this is just a very temporary clip, but I wanna, let's say I just wanna render it now, just show you guys how to do it. The way you do it is you go to this last tab, deliver, and then I would start with this YouTube preset. So if you're doing some sort of uploading to YouTube or some sort of online video service, click this YouTube, and that will give you a lot of preset settings for uploading to YouTube. I usually do this custom tab, and I'll go through what's going on here. So the first thing I'll do is I'll change the file name. Let's say I call it test, and all I'm gonna do is save it to desktop, and then we're gonna go through one by one. So let's go video, and in the format I want to use is MP4, and it's up to you what you want to use, but most of the time I use MP4 for uploading. And then codec is H.264, and then if you're gonna upload to YouTube, you check this network optimization. And then resolution, you want to go as high as you can go without sacrificing quality. So if your video clips are 1920 by 1080, go with that. Basically, you don't really need to touch these two, as long as they're at least HD. And then for quality, I go click automatic and then use least, and that will give me the smallest file size. And what I found with this is it actually doesn't really degrade the quality of the video. There might be some noticeable difference, but when you're uploading it to YouTube, it does a really good job giving you a small file size. That's what this does. And then that's it for video. I don't think we have to do anything here for audio. And then for file, if you want to put additional settings for the file names, you can do that, but I don't touch any of this. I only have to touch this video tab. And then you add it to the render queue. So let's say you're rendering multiple clips. You can render multiple clips, but usually I just render the entire video. And then once you're done, click this render all. This should go very fast. It's a very short clip. And I don't know if you can hear right now, but my computer's fan is running on overtime. So make sure you're not doing anything else when you're rendering, and hopefully this should go much quicker that way. And now it's done. Let's go find the video clip. It's on my desktop. Test. So that's what it looks like. I don't want to play it because I'll be talking over myself. So that's that sample text in the beginning. That's a fade in the beginning, and then near the end here, I'm just gonna try to mute myself here so I'm not talking over myself, and that's the fade out. And then my media player just repeats it from the beginning. And that's all for making videos using OBS and DaVinci. I hope that's been very helpful. And if there are any questions, that could be left on the comments. And like I said, every link that's been mentioned in this video will be left in the description. Thank you for watching.